So our next project is the Fulton Street Farmers Market, and we have Ted Lott from Lott3Metz here to present that. Ted is an award-winning architect, urban planner, and designer. He's kind of the design source behind a lot of the recognizable buildings that you see around downtown, and is really committed to our city. So I'll turn it over to Ted.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about the farmers market. This has been, we've been doing this for a few years. There's been a lot of press. Most of you probably know something about the project. I'm going to try to talk about some things that we don't get a chance to talk about too much. And to start, how many architects do we actually have in the room today? Okay, cool. So, and then how many of you have actually been to the Fulton Street Farmers Market? Okay, even better. So we've got some basic knowledge, which is great, because we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about some things that we don't always talk about. So before we get into that, we just want to talk about a couple of upcoming events. The first one is we'll be held here on May 31st. Lott3Metz and the partners you see here are going to be putting on a movie called Urbanized. We think it's an inspirational movie, and we hope that you'll be able to be here to enjoy it with us. More information to follow. And then on June 16th, we're partnering with our friends at the Pyramid Scheme. We're very excited about this. T-Rex Fest. I'm particularly excited about the men coming to Grand Rapids from Brooklyn. So this is going to be a fun afternoon. They're blocking off Oak Street from Commerce to Division and putting the show at the base of the street. It should be a lot of fun. So I hear the kids love the pinback, so come on out and see the show. So the farmers market. Hopefully you've seen this image before, and this is kind of the poster or the big image that we show out here. And to start, I've been asked to read this disclaimer by our civic partners and our council. We at Lott3Metz are practitioners. We design, we make, and we finish. We are not researchers, we are not historians, and we are not theoreticians. Our research is typically incomplete, our memory is fragmentary, and our analysis is idiosyncratic at best. So I just want you to remember that as I'm giving this presentation. Okay? So to start, we're gonna roll through some quick histories. Hopefully some of you have seen this before, and that's really dark on the screen. But that is a picture. I don't think 1929 or whenever that was taken, the world was that dark. But what essentially this says is that from 1922, this market's been continuously functioning. And what it really means is that everything we do here is under a microscope from people who've been coming to the market for generations and people that have been vending at the market for generations. So everything you see here has been through, through years of scrutiny in one way or another. And this is how we kind of came to the project. This is a timeline. This is part of the original plan, area-specific plan that we did for the Midtown Neighborhood Association. And you can see there, hopefully, that we started this in the summer of 2005, and we started it with things like this. How many have been in rooms like this for charrettes? Okay, so some people can feel that. Hopefully yours had balloons. But we did all of this work, and we're coming down to, this is 2 years of work, 1.5 years of work, and the result of that is a plan like this. And this is a Mark Miller image, by the way. And this whole report is online at the Planning Department website. If you're interested in what we did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you can go there and read the report. It's hefty. But I chose this image because this is what we called at the time, because we were kind of making this up, our transformation plan. And what you see in orange is what the plan identified to change, okay? And specifically, when we come over here and look at the area that the farmers market is, which is the orange farthest on the right, you can see all the parking spaces and all the stalls as part of that. the neighborhood was willing to bite off some significant change. I mean, you can just see that. There's 120 properties in there that the neighborhood came together and said, you know what, we can do something with this. We can do something better with this. And so we were very heartened by the idea that the neighborhood was willing to undergo some significant change as part of this project. So we finished things up, and we're proud to say that this was the first area-specific plan that was accepted into the zoning ordinance as part of our work. But then it was like, what do we do now? We had a very aggressive plan for a market renovation, but we really had no perspective as to what that meant. We heard there's lots of people on a waiting list to vend at the market. The market's full every Saturday, but what does that really mean for expansion? We had no idea. And a constant theme in this, and this is, we can't really go any farther in this discussion without talking about Christine Helmsable-Eddick, who has been the champion and the hero of this project, went out and found these guys, Project for Public Spaces. And they're fairly well known, and they're experts in their field, and part of their field is farmers markets. So they came in and did a report. And the good news about this report was it put the definition on the project. It helped us understand what was reasonable, what was appropriate, and what was really possible as part of this. And this is I apologize for the 8-bit nature of this image, but they came back with some recommendations. I'm just going to pound through them quickly. Construct a permanent enclosed building. Extend open hours to year-round. Expand the public plaza at Fulton Street. Build a permanent shed adjacent to the building. Maximize customer parking by improving circulation. That was a key point, because I'm not going to talk about parking today. Incorporate sustainable design practices. Explore leasing options as extensions of the market. And retain existing management of the market. That last one was particularly important because the neighborhood manages the market. And the idea that the neighborhood can continue to manage the market enabled us to make long-term plans. And that was a critical piece. So now we're going to talk about architecture. So when I look at that plan, with probably too many years of architecture history and too many years of architecture theory, you start to think about what are the historical antecedents for a market. And really what that is, and let's talk about this. So really what you're seeing here is the red are the stalls. The block immediately below the red is what they were calling a head house, but we quickly decided we hated that name and tried to come up with something else. And then what you see below that is a plaza. Okay? The existing market building is to the right, that gray square. And you can kind of see how this is all going to fit in the same square footage that we have today. So where does a market come from? Where does this thing come from? Well, really where it comes from Roman basilicas. I mean, this is where this stuff started. It's kind of, it's one of these oldest kind of buildings, next to a house. People needed someplace to go to sell stuff. And people needed someplace to go buy stuff. So the Romans said, well, we'll create this basilica, we'll create these side aisles so people can sell out of these side aisles, and then we'll have this open space in the middle, which we can call a nave, sure. And people will, the people who want to buy stuff will come to this basilica, and they'll engage in their civic life in this basilica. When things changed in Rome, the Christians decided, hey, there were some good things about this, and so they very quickly started to turn into things like this, which is Old St. Peter's in Rome. Now, to full disclosure, I mirrored this plan for the sake of discussion this evening. So the plan is, if we were to go to Rome right now, the plan would be the other way. And you'll see in a moment why I did this. But you see the market on the top, the basilica, which is the piece with the cruciform on the top. You see the public forum below the basilica. You see the connection to the street with the stairs. And then you see on the left, you see ancillary buildings, which were obviously critical to the function. They put them right next to it. But they were a different part of the market, or the basilica. So, now, let's go back. Oh, it's dark. We'll zoom in a second. But remember what they did at Project for Public Spaces. And this is one of the things that Mark and Greg and I first ground our teeth about, was with the permanent building right at the foot of the shed, you couldn't see what was going on. You couldn't see the market. You couldn't see the activity at the market. That was a critical piece. Anytime you go there on a Saturday in the summer, one of the things that's the best about it is how many people are there and all the stuff that's going on. And then the other part of it is that we've got kind of a ragged urban edge in this street, on the street and in this location. This market needs to address the street. It needs to physically address the street. And having a plaza there, while it's important, we need to figure out a solution for that. We need to define that street, help define that street, and the way we do it as architects is with a building. So, on the right, I hope you can see that. Think about that old St. Peter's. To the top is the shed that we talked about from Project for Public Spaces. Below it is the piazza or the plaza. And then to the left of it, which is why I cheated on St. Peter's, is the permanent building that we're doing. So the idea is that permanent building does a few things for us. It addresses the street very specifically, right at the sidewalk. It defines the western edge of that plaza, which historically in the city of Grand Rapids and as architects in America, we do a crappy job of plazas. And then on the right, we define the plaza with a colonnade, which is some of what you can see today. So there's the plaza in rendered form, and the good news is that hopefully you guys have seen some of this in physical form. But what that is then is we've defined this outdoor space, this outdoor public space, which didn't exist there before. We've moved the building over to the side so all the activity of the vendors and the shoppers will be able to be seen from the street. And then we framed the north end of the market with the shed and what we would refer to as an abstracted arch. So when we look at this, when Lott3Metz looks at this, we see a very classical urban solution. Now, the way we've rendered it has some abstraction in it, and the way we've rendered it is newer, certainly, but we see a very classical solution to a very typical urban problem. So, after we get done talking about the plaza, the other critical thing that Mark and Greg and I, and by the way, Mark Miller, who's been our partner in all of this, and kind of a great critic and a great friend to have through this. So, Mark Miller, ladies and gentlemen.
He's still a friend.
I'm gonna walk past that open window for the time being, maybe in question and answer. So the second critical aspect for this is how does this project, how does the building relate to the street? Now you can start to see here. I've kind of started to put into this rendering all the things that kind of have to happen at Fulton in this project. I mean, everybody knows trying to drive in and out of that thing on a Saturday how difficult it is. Those things aren't going to change. We still have to have cars going in and out of this. We still have to have people getting in off the street. How are we going to make this substantially address the street in a meaningful urban way? And what does it mean to address a street in a meaningful urban way? And I think the first thing that we would say is a street wall. This is the corner of Fulton and Diamond. Hopefully you all know it. But it's one of those nice little urban stretches, urban commercial stretches in Grand Rapids where you've got a nice street wall on both sides of the street. It's a couple stories tall. It does all the basic things that urban buildings do. They're all different. They're all different eras. They're all different styles. They all solve these things slightly differently, but it's a good, solid street wall. This is what it used to look like. Those trees are beautiful, but it was a big hole between the Lighthouse Antiques building and the existing Farmers Market building, which you see in the background of that. So what do? We tried to reference ourselves in this discussion. We knew we wanted this colonnade running into the market to lead you into the shed, but to also define that plaza. With a very permeable edge on Fulton, we said, you know what? Let's try to address that with what we're going to call our street colonnade, with the building being a part of that colonnade which connects to the plaza frames an exit for the cars on one side, and then allows the cars to come in next to the building on the right side. So you'll notice here a couple of things. The scale of the building and the scale of the architecture at the street is very similar to the existing one-story buildings that are adjacent to it. Suzanne's great new zoning ordinance says in this situation for a new building we have to have a two-story building. Thankfully, we were able to come up with a solution that didn't require that, just because of cost and space and all the other things. I mean, this is a very tight urban site, and while we are blessed with a lot of support, it has been a project of twists and turns. So we're able to create a one-story building and supplement the street with the colonnade while still allowing all the circulation we need to have happen. This is just a little, an idea of what that streetscape might look like. We were able to incorporate a bus stop into the plan at the street. Our friends at the Rapid have been great partners on this as well. And also, we couldn't resist, we had to have a street clock in this. We thought that the clock, being a public space, that public clock helped to define that public space in a manner that we think really gives some character to the space. So here's some pictures of a little bit of construction, and then we'll wrap this up. But what I wanted to show here is this is what, January? We've been blessed with a great winter for construction. This is January, this is the shed, this is the basilica part of the project. Instead of the side aisles, where we would have columns coming down if we're building with load-bearing masonry, we're able to cantilever that open end. The trucks will pull up under the shed, under the wing that flies up, allow them to keep the water off their backs, and to then, on a Saturday, with the rain coming down. You can see how the market form narrows up as it goes to the north in this. Oh, damn. This is today, actually, and this is, there you can see the trucks pulled up for the construction crews today up against the building, and that's very much what you're going to see when this project is, when people are using this on Saturday. Here's the street clock as a render, very similar to the rendering I just showed. You'll notice that hole behind the street clock, which is a critical piece of this, the building. There's still some funds to be raised. I think you've heard that a few times tonight. But we are very optimistic that we'll be starting that building in very short order and finishing it up for the cold season here this year. And then here's our street. Again, you can start to see that colonnade, and I wish you could see it stepping back. I apologize for that. And then this was a beautiful day last week where we had a great blue sky on this. We're very excited about this this project. This is aspirational for us in a lot of ways. As we wrap this up, ribbon cutting is Saturday at 7:45. Yeah. That's a public event. Everybody's welcome to that. Christine has assured me that the mayor will speak for 2 minutes. Market is open for business 8 o'clock on Saturday. I will be there. I hope you will be there too. A couple of last plugs. If you're curious more about the project, Mark and I wrote a book, which you see the cover of as the background here. It's available on Amazon. We've been told it didn't embarrass us, so I encourage you to check it out if you're curious about both our project in the planning for Midtown and the Farmers Market as part of this. With that, I just want to say thank you very much for your patience. I appreciate the audience. I appreciate the AIA asking me to do this event. And thanks to everybody, because there's been way too many people over the past 8 years that have contributed to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. So now we're going to open it up kind of for a Q&A, and we need to make a little bit of a transition here. So we invite all of our presenters up to the stage, and we're going to pull out some chairs, and we'll kind of reserve the next half hour or so and just kind of